So what if I told you the secret to hitting your biggest goals wasn't about some massive, heroic effort, but actually the complete opposite? Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea, how tiny, almost effortless wins can build unstoppable momentum and lead to some seriously huge achievements.
You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a huge project. Maybe it's writing a book, getting in shape, or launching that business idea. And you just feel stuck, paralyzed. You know what you need to do, but the sheer size of it just makes you want to, well, do pretty much anything else.
And look, that feeling isn't you being lazy. Not at all. It's a totally natural human reaction. Our brains are basically wired to sidestep huge, vague, intimidating tasks because they just feel heavy, and that finish line seems miles away. So what do? We put it off.
So what's the antidote here? It's not some complicated new productivity system, I promise. It's way simpler and honestly, a little counterintuitive. You stop looking at the whole mountain and instead, you just focus on picking up one single, tiny stone.
And we call this a small win. The magic is right there in the definition. It has to be quick and easy to complete. This isn't about tackling the whole to-do list at once. It's about picking one tiny, focused action you can knock out in just a couple of minutes.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? It's not clear out my entire inbox. It's send that one important email you've been putting off. It's not write the first chapter. It's write just the first 100 words. See, these things are so small, it feels almost harder not to do them.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds way too simple to actually be effective, but here's the cool part. There is some fascinating science that explains exactly why this little trick has such a massive impact on our motivation.
It really all comes down to brain chemistry. Our brains are hardwired with a reward system, and every single time you complete a task, even a tiny one, your brain gives you a little hit of a feel-good chemical called dopamine.
This creates what neuroscientists call the dopamine loop. That little jolt of pleasure from finishing something basically tells your brain, hey, that felt good, let's do that again. It becomes this powerful, positive feedback cycle. You take an action, you get a chemical reward, and that reward fuels you to take the next action.
And hey, this isn't just a fun theory. A Harvard researcher named Teresa Amabile discovered this after analyzing thousands of diary entries from people at work. She noticed a really clear pattern. This discovery is now famously known as the progress principle, and what it proves is kind of mind-blowing. The most powerful motivator for us humans isn't a big paycheck or a major award. Nope, it's the simple internal satisfaction of feeling like we're making progress, even if it's just in tiny little steps.
All right, so we get the why it works. Now let's get into the how. Let's build a practical playbook you can start using like today.
The method is incredibly simple. It's really just 3 steps. First, we're going to reframe those huge goals. Then, we make your progress visible. And finally, we use that momentum to build even more powerful habits.
Step 1 is the big one. You have to make the abstract concrete. A goal like get fit is just too big and fuzzy. But what about do 5 push-ups before my shower? Now that is a specific, totally achievable small win. You're turning that intimidating feeling into a clear, doable action.
Next, you need to see your progress. That little check mark you put on a calendar or crossing an item off a list, that's not just for staying organized. It's a visual trigger for that dopamine reward. It reinforces the habit and makes you really want to keep that streak alive.
Now, a couple of pro tips here, some common traps to watch out for. First, make sure your small wins are actually pointing you toward your big goal and not just busy work. Second, don't forget to actually pause and acknowledge what you did. If you just rush to the next thing, you lose the reward. And finally, remember that consistency is everything. That's how you build real momentum.
Okay, so that's the daily plan. But what's the long-term payoff? Where does all this lead? This is where things get really, really exciting.
It's all about the compounding effect. You know how small, regular deposits in a savings account eventually grow into this huge amount of money over time? Well, it's the exact same principle. Small, consistent actions build on each other to create massive, unbelievable results.
And if you want to see the wild math behind this, get this. If you get just 1% better at something each day, you don't end the year 365% better. No, because each day's improvement builds on the last, the growth compounds, and you end up nearly 37 times better. It's incredible. So when you boil it all down, the takeaway is right here. The goal isn't to work harder or just power through with brute force. The real secret is to make starting so ridiculously easy that you just can't say no.
I love this metaphor. A single small win can feel kind of insignificant, right? Like one little brick. But if you commit to laying just one brick every single day, you'll look back in a year and realize you haven't just made a little progress. You've built something strong, something solid, something lasting. You've built a fortress.
But look, this can't just be some cool idea you heard, so I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Forget about tomorrow or next week. What is one tiny, 2-minute action you can take right now toward your biggest goal? Seriously, go do that thing. That's your first small win.